Hey friends, it is Jenna, what is up, and welcome back to the Board Game Garden, and welcome to a monthly wrap-up video and my top 10 games of a specific month, which today we're going over my top 10 games for the month of September, which if you guys have never seen this before, basically every single month I just do a wrap-up of the month. So I go over my board game stats for the month. That includes all of the games that I played multiplayer as well as solo, all of my stats for that. And then I go into the herb garden where I do a little spotlight on a few small box card games or party games that I've been enjoying recently. And then we go into my top 10 games of that specific month, which this one is for September. And September probably was the busiest month that I've had so far in 2024. It was absolutely crazy. I was jam-packed with plans and work for the entire month. So the beginning of the month, I had a trip to Nashville for some Ivy Games stuff, which was a lot of fun. And then at the end of September, I went to the World Series of Board Gaming as well. And then in between there and all around there, I had a ton of work. Overall, September was absolutely insane. It was over in the blink of an eye, but it was a very fun month. So yeah, anyways, we are moving into October now, which I will say I am going on a over 2 week trip to Japan with my boyfriend Francis. So we are very excited for that. When this video goes up, we will be in Japan. So definitely go over to my Instagrams. It's at Jenna Rose Beasley as well as at the Board Game Garden over on Instagram, and I will be sharing some stuff on the stories over there. Anyways, without further ado, if you guys want to see my monthly stats as well as all the games that I played in the month of September, then just keep on watching. Give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoy. Also hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. And without further ado, let's get into this video, shall we? All right, so getting right into this, we are going to start with my board game stats for the month of September. For the amount of plays that I had in the month of September, it is 28 plays, which is extremely low. I've had months where I've played like 60s and 70s. So yeah, 28 plays feels very low, but it is okay. Sometimes we just have those months. But for the amount of games that I played, that was a total of 23 different games. And then 17 of those games were new to me. And then for BGA or Board Game Arena, I was playing so much BGA in September because a lot of the times I was sitting at my computer doing editing, and most of the time when I'm sitting at my computer, I have BGA on the side. So yeah, I played a lot of BGA. I was also training for the World Series of Board Gaming, so a lot of these plays are of the Castles of Burgundy because I just played that game over and over again and it was the best. But I had a total of 39 plays on BGA, which is the most I think I've ever had. But I've been really enjoying BGA, and you should definitely add me on BGA. It's just Jenna Rose, or no, it's not Jenna Rose, it's Jenna Beasley. So yeah, I'm always down to play some games over there. But yes, that is everything for my board game stats. We are now going to get into the herb garden. All right, so getting into the herb garden, if you guys are not familiar with this is kind of the section of the video where I like to spotlight or highlight some small box card games and party games that I've been playing. So these three here are all card games, and I have very much so enjoyed all three of them. I actually played one of them quite a while ago, but I didn't put it in a video because I was playing it for the first time and I had no idea what I was doing, but I ended up getting to play it again and I fell in love. It is such a good game, and that game, I might as well tell you guys right now, is Surfasaurus Max, which I played this at Gen Con. I played this with, who did I play it with? I think I played with the Brothers Murph, Nick and Mike, Linnaeus, as well as a few other people, and I really enjoyed it then, but I had, like I said, no idea what I was doing, so I didn't want to talk about it too much. But getting to play it again at a local convention, I fully understand how to play it now, and it is such a cool game where basically you are going to have a hand of cards and they are going to be numbered and have suits, and your goal is to play down a card. You're going to play down 2 cards in total each round, and your goal is to have cards in the kind of best hand that you've all put together cooperatively. So at the end of a round, each player would have played down 2 cards, and then you're going to go through and see what the best hand is that you can make out of the cards that everyone has played. So if you end up having your cards be in that hand, you will get I think it's like a full coconut if you had a card in that hand, but you get half coconut if somebody else has the same card in that hand, if that makes sense. But I really enjoyed it. Like I said, had no idea what I was doing the first time, but I'm happy that I was able to play it the second time and fully grasp the strategy and the gameplay. Obviously, the surfing Tyrannosaurus Rex or whatever it is, dinosaur, is absolutely amazing, and I love the theme. Unfortunately, I do think that it's quite hard to find, and also they are doing a reprint of it, but they are changing the theme, which I think is crazy that they're changing the theme because it is amazing. Literally, each player gets a card that has a surfboard on it, and then when you are the active player or the first player, you put the little Tyrannosaurus Rex meeple on the surfboard, and is the cutest thing in the entire world. But anyways, I really enjoyed Surfosaurus Max, and I really want a copy of it now, so I'm going to try to find that somewhere. We will see. But yeah, that is the first game I wanted to mention in the herb garden. All right, so the second game that I wanted to mention, I actually have a copy of here because this was a game that I ended up picking up myself at Gen Con, and this was the new release from Oink Games for Gen Con, and that was Moving Wild. So like I said, this was Oink Games' new release for Gen Con, and this is, I think, actually a re-implementation of another game called Zuli, which I've always wanted to try. And basically it is a closed drafting game where you are going to be building out a tableau of this zoo. You're going to have different enclosure cards as well as these different upgrade cards to improve your enclosure and give your enclosure more like abilities or more ways to add different animals to that enclosure. You're gonna have the animals as well. And you are trying to fill up these enclosures to your best ability. Each of the cards are going to have different kind of actions or different abilities and stuff like that. I really enjoyed it. I want to play it more. I do believe you can play this one solo as well. It plays 1 to 6 players, which I think that is like my favorite player count for a game. If you give me a game that can play solo, but then also go all the way up to 6 players, it just makes me so happy. So yeah, Moving Wild was a fun one. Like I said, I want to play it more, but I really enjoyed my first play of it. So that is why I wanted to mention it here. So that is Moving Wild. All right, moving into the last game here in the herb garden. This is a game that I think is pretty difficult to find. And the copy that we actually played was one that my friend Steph put together. But this is a game that you can get, I believe, in Japan, but I think even in Japan, it is hard to find. It is called Loop, which I'm hoping I'm going to search for it while we're in Japan. It is a shedding game where you're going to be, just like a lot of other shedding games, playing 1 or more cards, and they are either going to be, you know, a single card of a number or a set of cards or a run of cards, different things like that. And you're going around playing a higher set or run or single card until every player has passed, and then you're going to start over kind of a new trick or a new set of cards. And there's a few cool things about this one that I really enjoyed. One being that it is called Loop, so the 8s are actually an infinity, and the 8s are going to do some interesting things. One being that if you do play an 8 into one of those tricks or into the game, you're going to be able to then be able to switch the order of how you play cards. So instead of ascending cards, it is going to now switch to descending cards. So you could actually play an 8 if you know that you can't go higher than that, so that it will actually switch to going lower than 8. And then you'll be able to play out some of your lower cards. And then there's something else with the 8s that I can't quite remember because I don't think I actually used it when we were playing. But basically at the beginning of a round, you're going to be taking, I think, 1 or 2 cards from your hand and placing them face down beside you. And if one of those are an 8, there's something that happens. I'm not 100% sure because like I said, didn't use it when we were playing. But the other cool thing is that you're going to have this hand of cards, and that is going to be like your hand of cards. And based off of when you get out in the first round, For the second round, that will then allow you to have kind of priority of the deck that you choose for the second round. So this is going to be played over 2 rounds. And so you might see someone's hand and see the cards that they're playing out and be like, I kind of want to play with their kind of set of cards or their deck. So I think that's very cool. And then based off of the kind of number that they got out, so say that hand of cards got out last on the first round, then if you were able to take that set of cards that was out last and finish first in the second round, you'll get more victory points. So I think it's very cool, and it was an interesting and very unique kind of twist on the ladder climbing or shedding genre of games. So really enjoyed that one, and like I said, when I do go to Japan, I'm going to be looking for that. So that is everything for the herb garden. So let's get into my top 10 games of September. All right, so getting into my top 10 games of September. My number 10 is a game called First Rat. So this is one that I've always heard about. It's always been one that I've wanted to try because all of the people that I've heard talk about this game have said that it is wonderful and that it is almost like a hidden gem because more people need to be talking about it. And I really did enjoy it. It was very cute. Basically, you are moving along this track and then collecting different resources. You are moving up on this light bulb track and moving your different rats on some different spaces. In order to achieve these different goals that are all over the board, there's going to be that you're wanting to like construct these different parts of this rocket that then if you have those 3 pieces, you'll be able to create a rocket. You're trying to get your rats all the way up to the top. You're trying to get coins, or not coins. They're yellow, but they're not coins, they're cheese. You're trying to get a set of 10 cheese to put into a crate thing. There's a bunch of different things that you're trying to do in these goals. And the sooner that you accomplish these different goals, the more victory points you're going to get for them because you're going to place a cube onto these different tracks. So overall, I really enjoyed it. It's quite a light game and I don't really feel like I need to own it and have it in my collection because it is a space themed game. It does have rats, which is very cute, but overall it is a space themed game and I'm just not the biggest fan of that theme. But really enjoyed my play of it and I am happy that I finally was able to try it because I've always heard good things. But that is my number 10, First Rat. All right, so moving on to number 9. This is a game that I had never heard of before, but Professor Meg or Meg wanted to introduce it to me. It is a deduction game and it is a 2-player only deduction game called Phantom of the Opera. So Meg introduced this to me at the World Series of Board Gaming. We played it together and I really enjoyed it. So I'm a huge fan of deduction games. I typically don't play a lot of 2-player only games, but this was one that I loved the sound of and I was excited to play it. So basically what is happening is you're going to have these different tiles that you're going to be drafting and it is going to be a snake draft and then every other round it kind of switches who starts the snake draft, and you're going to be drafting these different characters, and that is going to allow you to move these different characters around this house. It's going to be the characters of the Phantom of the Opera. And basically one side is playing as the Phantom, so they are going to know the one character that the other side is trying to figure out. And you're trying to deduce all the way down to figuring out what this one character is. And the Phantom side is actually going to get one of the tiles at the beginning of the game, secretly going to have that so they know who the Phantom is and the one character in the house that they're kind of trying to protect. And the other side is going to try to figure out which one of the characters is the Phantom. And you're going to be doing this by moving the characters around the house, and each character is going to move in a different way. Some of the characters have some interesting special abilities. And basically at the end of a round, once one snake draft is over, that player is then going to ask whether the Phantom is alone or if they are with other people, or I think it's if they are seeable or invisible or something like that. But basically that is your way to deduce some of the characters. So any of the characters that are alone or in a room with another character, that will then allow you to deduce. And then eventually you're going to try to figure out who the Phantom is, you have to have exact kind of information and deduce all the way down to who exactly it is. There is going to be like a time track as well, so you're trying to do it before the time runs out. And yeah, overall, I really enjoyed this one. Again, it's one that I don't really feel like I need in my collection because it is a 2-player only game, so it would be very difficult for me to get to the table. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I was happy that Meg introduced it to me. So that is my number 9, Phantom of the Opera. Number 8 is a game that I've been wanting to try for a while. I always struggle with how to pronounce this game, but this game is called Orichalcum. I think that's the name of it. But this is a tile placement, tile drafting, kind of racing game. So basically you are racing to get these 5 things above your board. And in order to get these 5 things above your board, you're going to have to buy them with coins or with this like gold resource, or you're going to have to kind of create these different blocks of colors with these tiles, or you're gonna have to create these like temples or shrines that are 4 different colored terrains together. And whoever can do that first is going to be the winner. The different kind of tiles that you're going to gain for having the group of a single color, those can actually be taken away. So once a player has more of that color than you do, they're going to take it away. So that's a way to kind of take some of the 5 points away from someone that is close to finishing the game. And I really enjoyed it. I love tile placement games. You guys know if you've seen videos in the past, I really enjoy tile placement games. This one has a little bit of drafting as well. So you're going to be drafting a card that has a tile on top of it, and then you're going to be placing that tile onto your map. And then you're also going to be able to then do the action of the card that it was on. So you can build buildings that give you different abilities. You can fight monsters that are going to come onto your board with this specific volcano terrain. You're also going to get these different like soldier things that you then use to fight these monsters. You can get gold and stuff that you're going to be using to purchase these different things in order to possibly win. I really enjoyed this one, primarily because it was a tile placement game. I just love trying to, draft these different tiles and add them into this tableau of tiles on this map and try to fit them in the best way possible in order to win. So yes, that is my number 8, Orichalcum. Moving on to number 7, this is one that I had an opportunity to play at WSBG, or the World Series of Board Gaming, and this is one that I've heard a ton about. It was the talk of the town when it came to Gen Con, because I do think the Dice Tower always talks very highly of this one, and it just recently got published here in North America. But that game is Comic Hunters. So the theme of this one doesn't really resonate with me. I've never, read any comics. I've never collected comics or anything like that. But overall, I really enjoyed the gameplay of this one. I had no idea how this game played. And then I actually ended up playing this with a few people. I played it with Grant Lyon from Grant's Game Rex. I also played with Meg, Professor Meg. And then we also played with John DeClaire, which what a wonderful human. I met him for the first time at the World Series of Board Gaming, and he was very nice. But yes, played that, and it is very interesting game. It's all about cards, and basically each round you're going to be playing a bunch of different like card mini games, which I think is so cool. In each of the mini games, you are gaining cards in different ways, and primarily the game is you are trying to have these different sets of comics, whether you are collecting all of like a certain type. I was collecting a lot of Doctor Strange, I think it was, as well as some Captain America and different things like that, Black Widow, all of the things. But you're trying to collect these different sets because each of these different types of comics are going to be getting you a different amount of victory points each game based off of where the tile is, and then how many of that specific comic type you have. So you're gonna get some for that. You're also going to be doing some like track bumping and stuff based off of some other icons on the cards, and also like how many sets of different comics you have. And like I said, you are getting these cards in different ways. You also then have to discard these cards in order to pay for the cards that you keep. So the cards have a little bit of like multi-use to them, which I absolutely love. But overall, I really enjoyed Comic Hunters. I loved the gameplay of it. There was one specific like mini game that we all had a huge problem with. It was like the auction one, where it was very weird how it played out. I'm usually not a huge fan of auction anyways, but that was really the only kind of negative thing to it, is I just didn't like that little mini game, but all of the other ones were so much fun, and I overall really enjoyed my play of Comic Hunters. So that is why it is my number 7. Moving into number 6. This is a game that I actually have physically with me. I don't have a lot of these ones physically, but this one I do, and I'm so happy that I have a physical copy of this one because I loved it. But my number 6 is Fairy Ring. So this is actually, it's said to be like a family weight game, which I can see this being played with kids and kids being able to play it. But at the same time, I just love being like a gamer. I still really love the gameplay of this one. But basically what is happening is it is another closed drafting game. I absolutely love closed drafting. You're gonna get a hand of these different mushroom cards. You're gonna be choosing one mushroom card and then giving the rest to the person on your left or your right. Then you're going to be playing this mushroom into your kind of mushroom garden area. And the more of one type of mushroom that you play, you can actually overlap them and grow the height of the mushroom. Then that's going to actually allow you to gain more things if someone's fairy lands on that mushroom. Which, another thing that happens is when you play this card down, there's going to be a number in the top right hand corner, I think, and that's how many spaces or cards your fairy has to move around this fairy ring. So everyone's cards that are played out is actually the fairy ring. You're going to be going around and moving your fairy from the cards that are in front of you to the cards that are in front of the other player to the other one, and whatever mushroom you land on and whatever player's mushroom that is going to be the mushroom that is activated. So if you have that mushroom in front of you, that will activate. Each of the mushroom is going to activate in a different way, and then if the player that has the mushroom that you landed on, that actually activates for them as well. And like I said, each mushroom is going to activate in different ways. One is going to be based off of how many spaces you move. Another one's going to be based off of how many mushrooms you have, different things like that. And there's just something about this game that I absolutely love. The strategy in this is actually pretty deep, and I just really, really enjoyed it. So that is my number 6. That is Fairy Ring. I will also mention that the components in this are absolutely beautiful, and like, can we just talk about how beautiful this box is? I'm just obsessed. Moving on to the next game. This is another one that I've wanted to try for a while. It's always been a game that hasn't really like brought me in or interested me based off of the look of it. This is a tea game from Board and Dice, and that is Teotihuacan or Teotihuacan, the City of Gods. This is one that I have actually played on BGA before, and I do not recommend playing this on BGA if you do not know the rules. This was one that I just got invited to, and then I didn't have time to actually go through and learn the game, so I kind of just clicked around and hoped for the best. And I didn't love my experience, and that kind of tainted my look on the game, but I did say yes to playing it at a board game day that I had recently, and I really did enjoy it. It actually uses dice in a really cool way, and this is basically a like dice, it's not dice worker placement, it's like dice rondelle, which I think is cool, where there's a bunch of different spots that you can move your dice to, and you can move up to, I think it's 2 or 3 times a dice. You can move that die 1 to 3 times, and then you're going to perform some sort of action at that little area or that little mini game. There is so much going on in this, so I'm not going to go full on into exactly how to play, but there's this cool temple in the middle that you can play with. There's like different buildings that you're going to be moving over. You're going to be gaining resources, and then a lot of the spaces are then going to allow you to tick up the pips on your dice. And then eventually, once a die gets to a number 6, then they do like retire, and then they have to go back to a 1 at this specific location and then start again. There's like another track that you're going up, and then there are these 3 colored tracks that you're going up to, and based off of where you are on one track, you're going to get victory points at the end of each round. And overall, I really enjoyed it. There's a lot going on. The look of the game is not my favorite. It is very beige, and again, it's one that I don't really feel like I need in the collection, but a lot of my friends do own it, so I'm excited to play it again in the future. And that is why Teotihuacan the City of Gods is my number 5. All right, moving into number 4. This is again one that I do have physically, and I am so happy that I have this game physically because it is a delight to play. So this is one that I did get at Gen Con, and that is Harvest. So this was gifted to me as a review copy from Keymaster Games, so a huge thank you to them. But Harvest is I don't think it is a reprinting. It is a re-implementation of an older game by Trey Chambers. So he had a game called Harvest before, and then Keymaster Games picked it up, changed some stuff, and this is the game that came out of it. It is absolutely adorable. I love the theme of this. I love the art of this. It is just absolutely stunning. The production of this game is just so good, and Keymaster Games hit it out of the park. But I've played this both multiplayer as well as solo. I will be talking more about my experience with the solo mode in my Sewing Solo, but overall, I have loved this game. I did absolutely horrible in my first game of this. I played this when I was in Nashville, and I did awful, but it is a farming game. It is a farming simulation game where basically you are planting crops, you are tending to those crops, you are growing those crops and then harvesting them for victory points. There's going to be buildings that you can also place into your little farm area, and each building is going to be either like a automatic thing that happens, or it's going to be end game scoring or an ongoing ability, different things like that. It very much so is a pretty simple worker placement game, but I just love the kind of theming for this and the act of placing your workers out, going to these different places, working on your farm, growing your crops, all the things. I just really, really enjoyed it. It is kind of that good middle point of being strategic, but it doesn't overstay its welcome, and it just has that perfect amount of thinking. It is just a great kind of medium weight worker placement game with a wonderful theme, and I definitely recommend, if you kind of love this farming theme and the look of this, to check it out. So that is my number 4. That is Harvest. All right, so moving into my top 3. My number 3 is one that I've been wanting to play for a while. I actually was told that I could go and pick up a review copy at Gen Con, but I completely forgot. So hopefully I will get myself a copy of this one somewhat soon because I really enjoyed it. But that game and my number 3 is Capybaras. So this is coming to you from KTBG, or Kids Table Board Games. And this is a multi-use card, it's all cards game where you are, serving your different customers and building out your cafe. And it is Capybaras Cafe. And you're going to be drafting different cards on your turn. You're going to be playing down cards, paying for it with coins, and then you're going to be kind of satisfying these different orders based off the cards that you have in your cafe to then gain more money, to play more cards. It is very much so a tableau building, engine building card game. It is a fairly simple game, but I just love the theme. I love the art. I love games, especially recently, with multi-use cards. So some of these cards, or all of the cards, you can either play into your cafe to give you more of these different icons, or you can play a card in order to fulfill the order that's at the bottom. So it's this very cool thought process where you're either going to be playing that card for its icon to build up your cafe, or if you're going to be playing it for the order at the bottom. And then some cards also have some special abilities that then you can chain into. And you're also trying to get the perfect amount of things for certain customers in order to make them regulars, and there's some objectives and stuff. Oh, it is just wonderful. I loved it. I knew I was going to love it based off of the theme and the mechanics. But yes, that is my number 3, Capybaras. All right, moving into my number 2. This is one that I just recently played and I fell in love with. So this is one that I do have physically, and I'm so happy that I do, and that is Mercurial. So this is one that my friend Aiden actually played and said some really good things about, and we've been meaning to play it for a while. I ended up getting a copy at Gen Con from Good Games Publishing, so a huge thank you to them. And I was so excited to try it, and we ended up playing it, and I did really bad, but I still really enjoyed it. It kind of reminded me a little of like Century, Spice Road kind of vibes, as well as it gave me a little bit of Res Arcana vibes as well. So this is primarily a card game as well, where you're going to be drafting cards and then using cards to exchange your dice. So you're going to be rolling a bunch of dice, and then you're going to need specific dice in order to like pull off these different like magical spells. And you're going to be drafting these different magical spell cards, placing dice on them, using cards to then change the pip or the side of the dice to the specific elements that you need for each of those spells. And then on a turn, instead of drafting cards and playing cards, you can then kind of perform those spells in order to gain a certain amount of either this like fire sign or this other sign. I forget what they were called, but one was red and one was blue. You can kind of choose which one you want to go for based off of the spells that you perform, and then you're trying to get a certain amount of those or one of those two things in order to get these other cards that get you victory points. And so it's very much so like that Century Spice Road, where you are playing these cards in order to exchange these different gems to get these cards that need those specific gems. Very similar to that, but with the different kind of cards that you're using and the exchanging and playing of the cards, like I said, it gave me a little bit of feeling of Res Arcana as well. So yeah, I really enjoyed Mercurial. So happy that I have a copy of it. I probably will, maybe in the month of October when I get back from Japan. I kind of want to try to do a live stream of this one and play it solo because it also has a solo mode. So get excited for that. Hopefully I will do that once we get back. But that is my number 2 for the month of September, Mercurial. All right, and lastly, my number 1 game of September was Reef Project. So this is one that I unfortunately do not have a copy of, but I kind of want a copy of it now. This is a game from Board and Dice, and I have recently become a huge fan of their game. I have Barcelona up here, which I really enjoyed. Also, Teotihuacan is from Board and Dice as well. There's a few other games from them that I have really enjoyed. And Reef Project was a huge, huge surprise to me. So this is one of their more recent releases, and I don't think it's gotten as much like hype and buzz as some of the Board and Dice's other releases. So they released Windmill Valley as well at the same time. And I feel like Windmill Valley kind of got more hype than Reef Project did, but hopefully that's just the case of it not quite. I'm not actually sure if it's like out yet, but this game is so good. I enjoyed it so much. And like I said, I'm really hoping to get a copy at some point because I think this one has a solo mode. Most of the Board and Dice games do have solo modes. So yeah, basically this one, you are putting out these different like buoys on this huge map in order to make your kind of way of getting to these different islands cheaper. So you're going to be having to pay energy, but if you have a buoy on this kind of path, it's going to make it free. And then eventually when you surround these different kind of polluted areas of the water, whoever has majority around that area then gets the tile that's going to get you victory points and some rewards. There's a bunch of different like tracks. There's like a research track that you're going up. There's cards that you're going to be playing. If you go to an island that is on a specific card, you will then be able to do the cards action as well as the islands action. So there's cards that you're playing down. You have an objective that you're getting at some point in the game. There's like another track at the bottom that's going to get you more resources. You have your own player board that has a little bit of like a Wingspan Raising Robots-esque kind of thing where you're building out these different rows of these assistants that you're then going to be able to trigger and get rewards from. And you're going up these other tracks to get resources, and it is just such a great Euro game with so much going on. And I actually really enjoyed the kind of area majority-esque part of it as well, which I think I've discovered that I like area majority. and I've always thought that I didn't because I really didn't like area control, but they're two very different things, and I really liked that part of Reef Project, and overall I just really enjoyed my play of Reef Project. So that is why it is my #1 of September. All right, friends, so that is going to be everything for this video and my monthly stats for September, as well as my top 10 games of September. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, please give this video a big thumbs up. Also hit that subscribe button down below if you've yet to do so. We'd love to have you here in the garden. Also comment down below your favorite games that you played in September. I'd love to chat about that down in the comments section. Yeah, I love you guys so much. Remember, you are somebody's reason to smile, and I will see you in the next board game video. Bye, friends.